Have you ever stopped to think about what your emotions are really telling you? They act like a mirror, reflecting your fragilities and insecurities, depression, anxiety, anger. We've all experienced these at some point, but what if I told you that these emotions are not just reactions? They are signals, indicators of the areas where you are vulnerable. What do you do with this? Do you ignore them or do you accept and transform them? Imagine that each moment of weakness you feel is a disguised opportunity. Do you remember that time when someone challenged you and you felt a chill in your stomach? That sensation can be paralyzing, but it is what reveals your true nature. What lies behind the fear? A search for approval, a desire for control. If you don't acknowledge these feelings, they become weapons against you. Think of Caesar, who when entering battle studied the expressions of his opponents. He knew that fear could be a powerful ally. When you let your emotions show, you give away your power. Vulnerability, if mishandled, becomes bait. People can sense your hesitation, your insecurity, and take advantage of it. A question everyone should ask themselves: to what extent do you allow your emotions to reveal your true essence? Vulnerability is not always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is a strategy. Aging doesn't make us wiser unless we learn to use our weaknesses as both shield and sword. How many times have you felt exposed and didn't know how to react? Perhaps the answer lies in staying silent, observing, and not showing your cards. Control. That is what you need. And for that, you must face your weaknesses with courage. Ask yourself, what are your emotions trying to tell you? When you acknowledge the pain and the weakness, you begin to strengthen yourself. The art of being unshakable begins when we stop playing the game of fear and shame and start playing the game of understanding and strategy. Understand this: it's possible to conceal your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. When you let others perceive that you are vulnerable, you encourage them to behave in a predatory manner. What you do with this knowledge determines who you really are. So, examine your emotions. Use them to create a new path to power. And do this in silence, for silence can be your greatest weapon. Now, before we continue, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here. I'm preparing a series of videos specifically designed to guide you on your journey of self-discovery and personal growth. With that done, let's move on. Vulnerability is a trap. Those who do not master it are punished, exposed, devoured. But there is a way to protect your essence, to transform weaknesses into strategic camouflage. You can appear strong when you are actually juggling insecurities. The trick? Master the art of emotional disguise. First, the tactic of depersonalization. Imagine that you are a mask and not a person. When someone provokes you, you should respond not with your emotions but as an observer. Use indifference as a shield. Smile, but inside, remove yourself from the situation. They play their cards, you don't. Let others' emotions pass by, reflect on them, as if you're watching a movie. They reveal their weaknesses, you absorb the information and gain a silent advantage. You have power only when your vulnerability does not become visible. Once, a famous CEO faced a crisis. Instead of panicking, he bowed his head, noted everything the critics said, and didn't yield to provocations. When it was time for him to speak, he did so with surgical clarity, revealing a mind that everyone had underestimated. He became stronger because he allowed others to project their emotions onto him while he remained a solid surface. Now, let's look at the second tactic, ambiguity. Create confusion. Combine expectation with uncertainty. When you fluctuate between being confident and indifferent, you force people to reassess their perceptions. One day you're approachable, the next inexplicably distant. This creates an obsession. They try to understand this volatility, but the truth is that you refuse to be defined. You become an enigma. Manipulation occurs when others seek to discover who you really are. Doubt breeds dependency, and while they attempt to decipher you, your true strength remains hidden and untouchable. These tactics build a cloak of invisibility. You must be a chameleon, perfectly immune to scrutiny. The art of appearing strong lies in not revealing your truth. Keep your feelings for yourself. Become the energy that moves the room without anyone noticing. You don't need to shout your weaknesses, just stay silent and observe while others expose themselves. The more contrasting your presence, the more powerful your influence becomes. Now, reflect. Are you truly in control of your emotional responses, or are you simply reacting to the pressure of the world around you? True power begins in silence, anger and sadness. On the surface, they seem antagonistic. One manifests as a blazing fire, the other as a quiet shadow. Yet understand this, both are powerful forces, disguised in emotions you fear to confront. Do you remember the last time you felt anger? The desire to scream, to release the accumulated tension. Now think about the sadness that followed. An echo of what was lost, a sense of helplessness. What you do with these emotions reveals who you really are. The common reaction is to avoid. The world teaches that anger is destructive and that sadness is a sign of weakness. The mistake lies in accepting that lesson. Anger can be fuel, a sign that something is wrong. It is a cry, an urgency for change. If you learn to harness it, it transforms into power. Instead of shrinking away, question, what is behind this? What does it want to teach you? Many believe that suppression is the solution. This is a tactical error. Repression is not control, it is just a burden. You know that feeling when you ignore the irritation of a mistake and then everything explodes into a crisis. That's the bill that inevitably comes due. The pot boils over. You think you're in control, but the truth is you're far from it. Accumulated pain turns into exhaustion, a cycle that seems endless. But what if the true strategy lies elsewhere? What if facing this duality, anger and sadness, were the key to not just coping but overflowing with strength? Making space for these emotions creates fertile ground where self-empathy can arise. It reveals a different path. Vulnerability is not weakness, but a space for reinvention. When you accept them, you free yourself from the shackles of shame. You transform your greatest fear into an ally. Remember Caesar, who possessed a combative spirit and the ability to reinterpret his defeats as lessons. He didn't see anger as an enemy. He viewed it as a fortress. Sadness didn't paralyze him. It pushed him toward his next move. If you don't acknowledge and integrate these emotions, they will use you. You'll become a puppet in the hands of loneliness and despair. Emotions are your allies. Never underestimate the power of someone who refuses to be consumed by them. Practice acceptance. Embrace discomfort. By doing so, a change occurs. A new inner strength begins to emerge. But first, you must confront the truth. This is not about weakness. It's about a hidden power waiting to be awakened. Breathe. Now ask yourself, is this really controlling you, or are you about to turn this into your secret weapon? Loneliness is not what you imagine. Many see it as a void to be avoided. But what if I told you it could be your most powerful weapon, a session of power, a strategic transformation? Isolation is not just an emotional state, it's a laboratory for self-discovery and a forge for resilience. Modern civilization teaches us to fear loneliness, but the truly bold embrace it. Remember a moment when you felt completely alone, the world surrounding you in silence, while you wrestled with your shadows. Think of Julius Caesar, who, facing betrayal from his closest allies, distanced himself from familiar voices. What did he do? He didn't let the pain of betrayal consume him. He used solitude to restructure himself. He transformed every whisper of betrayal into a lesson. You can do the same, but for that to happen, you must confront the pain. Don't hide your weaknesses, understand them. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Loneliness reveals truths that companionship does not allow. Acknowledging your vulnerabilities becomes the first step towards strength. Inner exploration is necessary. What you discover isn't just shame, it's potential. It's a continuous struggle between who you are and who you could be. Think of a crucial moment in your life, a decision that seemed impossible. In the quiet of solitude, you can hear your ambitions whispering. A persistent echo, suggesting that change begins with you. It's not just about enduring isolation, it's about using that time to reflect and reevaluate. Many drown in lamentation, but true change arises from a clear vision. Now consider those who fear being alone. They surround themselves with distractions, with rituals. For them, silence feels like a monster. What should you do? Face the absence. Make it your ally. The void can be a launching pad. Vulnerability transforms into strength. When you feel uncomfortable, that is not weakness. It's a sign that you are preparing for an ascent. So the next time you feel the weight of solitude, remember, when you isolate yourself, you fortify yourself. Power doesn't just lie in gathering connections, but in understanding yourself. And that battle is internal, silent yet decisive. Silence can be your strongest ally. Transform pain into determination. The challenge is now yours. Will you let solitude carry you away, or will you use this journey to master your true self? You feel empty. That sensation can be oppressive, like a thick fog that doesn't lift. Have you ever stopped to think that this emptiness could be your chance for transformation? Or maybe you're so caught up in the pain of absence that you can't see the possibility hidden within it. Many try to fill this dark space with distractions, with excessive consumption, and with shallow relationships. But what do these attempts really conceal? Fear. The fear of looking inside and confronting the truth about yourself. Imagine situations where silence screams, moments when you feel alone in a crowded room, scanning faces that don't often call your name. Think of Julius Caesar, who found himself betrayed by those he trusted the most. He didn't allow himself to succumb to the pain. Instead, he used solitude as a tool. He made absence a space for reflection and strategy, rebuilding himself from the ruins of his fragility. You must ask yourself, what does this emptiness say about you? It reveals what you have yet to confront, your insecurities, your unfulfilled ambitions. It's not just about what's missing, it's about what can be built. When you look in the mirror and see emptiness, what really reflects back at you? Many people seek to fill that space with noise, with impulsive actions, but true power lies in calmness. When you embrace the void, it transforms. What once felt like a weight becomes a solid foundation for growth. And instead of running from discomfort, question its origins. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What part of me is waiting to be heard? Every fragment of doubt and fear can be the fuel you need if you decide to face them with courage. Now, there's a simple ritual that can turn this dynamic around. Take some time to simply sit in silence. Don't seek external answers. Allow the void to reveal its layers. When you sit with what you fear the most and refuse to ignore it, something powerful happens. The void transforms into a space for reinventing yourself. It is not a chasm, but a forge. Perhaps you have felt this way before, at the mercy of your own emotions. What if I told you this is a disguised opportunity, a call to discovery? Face it, transform it, use it as a weapon on your journey. The void is not the end. It is the starting point for a stronger version of yourself. Don't be afraid to lose yourself in order to find yourself again. The true battle is not external, but within, quietly burning inside you. So, look again. What do you see, and what are you willing to transform? The search for belonging is one of the most primal impulses that shapes our actions. It is the illusion that connects us, but it is also the prison that slowly consumes us. Have you ever considered how the thirst for acceptance can turn you into a puppet of your own emotions? You must face the truth. That desire to fit in is often a trap disguised as a need. Imagine you're in a group, surrounded by friendly faces, but deep down you feel like you don't belong. You strive to please, changing your essence for the sake of approval. This leads to a subtle but powerful change in who you are. Each smile you force while ignoring your own truths is another chain you forge, and the anchor of emotional slavery sinks deeper. Think of Julius Caesar. He, who marched into battles with a loyal army, did not let himself be swayed by the acceptance of others. Betrayal, isolation, and disdain from his closest allies pushed him into a strategic solitude. He didn't seek approval. Instead, he used it as a battleground. The solitude of a leader is not a burden, but an inventive evolution. He understood that belonging is not blind acceptance, but a conscious choice of whom to associate with. Now reflect, do you adapt or do you transform? The line is thin, and you might be closer to adapting than you think. By conforming, you expose your weaknesses, and they become weapons in the hands of others. Each time you silence your true self, you give away a bit more of your power. Your essence becomes currency in the name of acceptance. This is not strength, it's submission. You need to break those invisible chains. Embrace solitude, not as a state of lack, but as a vital space for self-discovery. What do you really want? Ask yourself, what do those moments of superficial connections say about what you're willing to sacrifice? Authenticity shines brightest in the darkness of solitude, where you can give voice to what you truly feel without fear of judgment. Once again, consider Caesar. He used his deprivation to rise again, becoming indomitable. He was indeed a man who knew how to turn moments of weakness into impenetrable fortresses. And that strength was fed by his refusal to be molded by external expectations. If you want to free yourself from the chains of the need for belonging, start by observing yourself. Break the pattern of conformity. Replace the need for approval with the desire to understand yourself. In doing so, you will not only discover your true self, but also begin to forge meaningful connections based on authenticity. And remember, it is in solitude that the most powerful connections with your true essence are formed. Breathe. Now ask yourself, what is more valuable to you, illusory belonging, or the freedom to be who you truly are? You want to be seen as strong, but you feel vulnerable. This disconnect can be your greatest weakness or, if worked through properly, an incredible advantage. Let's talk about how to transform this into an art form. The first technique is the activation of strategic silence. Silence acts as an invisible shield. Imagine yourself in a tense meeting, voices rising. You have two options: jump into the verbal battle or wait. If you keep your mouth shut, every subsequent word from someone else will become a shot fired at their own feet. They reveal their insecurities, their tactics. Your silence is analytical, gathering information while others expose themselves. Once they speak, you are ready to act. What do they say about you? How do they manipulate your emotions? Remember Caesar, who even when surrounded maintained an impassive expression. He didn't react, he observed. Each provocation was an opportunity. Silence is not weakness, it is power in its most primal form. So you need to practice this. In moments of tension, take a deep breath. Let the echo of others' words resonate. What is being revealed while you watch silently? Silence creates a space where you are not exposed. Instead of losing control, you gain it. Now the second strategy, building mystery. People have an insatiable need to understand you. When you are too clear, you become predictable. Increase the perplexity. Alternating between being approachable and distant creates an enigma. One day you are friendly, the next cold. No one can draw a portrait of you. You're unstable. And that instability makes you irresistible. When they try to guess who you really are, obsession takes hold. The more confused they are, the more you control their mental space. The idea here is to make them think they have the situation under control, while you simply observe the cards being played. Let them burn themselves in the flames of their own assumptions. And you? Keep being the necessary unknown. You become the labyrinth each person enters, while you stand outside, watching. Silence and ambiguity are not just techniques. They are tools of emotional defense that, when used correctly, can dismantle the strength of anyone around you. Practice, master, transform. Every moment is a new opportunity to apply this. When you finally grasp these strategies, you will no longer be a target. You will be a strategic player who manipulates emotions at will. You hold the power, and it starts with a whisper. Have you ever stopped to consider the true power of your weaknesses? The vulnerabilities you hide are not merely battle scars, they are the foundations of an untapped fortress. Remember, pain is not a stigma, it is a battlefield. Do you ignore it and give in to fear? Or do you use it as a springboard for evolution? This is the choice that defines your path. What could you achieve if, instead of fleeing from pain, you confronted it? Imagine you find yourself in an emotional battlefield, like a warrior on the front lines. Every struggle you face is a tactic that strengthens your psychological armor. Accepting this is an act of courage. aging with the wisdom that wounds do not define you but shape your essence. Every repressed feeling is a ticking time bomb that will eventually explode. The answer? Active awareness. And when you allow yourself to feel, you also free yourself. Transforming weaknesses into strengths is not a trivial task. It's a ritual that requires discipline. You must elevate daily practices into a ritual of empowerment. Gratitude should be your companion. Upon waking, take a deep breath and approach your pain. Look it in the eyes. Thank it for the lessons. The energy you nurture in this process will be the foundation of your true strength. This is not optimism, it is strategy. Embrace solitude like a lover. Isolation, when treated with respect, reveals unconscious truths and offers space for growth. When you allow yourself to feel the absence of another, you notice that the most important connection is with yourself. It is in this silence that you find yourself and strengthen your inner structure. You cannot be thrown to the ground if your foundation is solid. Understand that small daily rituals, meditating, writing, observing, can create a profound impact. Each day, choose a challenge and face it head-on. Every barrier you overcome becomes fuel for your ascent. This is the cycle. Your challenges are your greatest allies on the journey. In the end, what's at stake is your narrative. You are the author of your story. You decide whether the pain will be a shadow or an ally. If fear is constant, power becomes your choice. Silence, then, becomes your weapon. By encapsulating emotions, you don't hide them, you transform them. After all, there is no loss. There's only transformation. Turn your weaknesses into an unassailable fortress. Stay vigilant. You're not fleeing from the battle. You're preparing for the most important fight of all, the one that takes place within you. What you do with this is what shapes not only your life, but also how you will be remembered. Question yourself, prepare yourself, and above all, forge the armor that makes your weaknesses your greatest strength. You expose yourself, revealing your weaknesses, and society feeds on that. Vulnerability. Everyone talks about it, but few truly understand. This is where the real game begins. By recognizing what weakens you, you open up a world of possibilities. But what do you do with that light that shines so brightly on your insecurities? Do you let it consume you, or do you use it as a beacon to navigate? Weaknesses are like makeshift shields. You can transform them into the armor you've always desired. Remember Julius Caesar. Amidst betrayal and hardship, he didn't surrender. He observed, learned, and turned the tables, converting fear into strategy. So, what will you do with your weaknesses? Will you continue to hide them, or will you let them guide your evolution? Acknowledging your emotions is like stepping onto a battlefield. You can be wounded, or you can use the pain as a weapon. Don't ignore what you feel. Face it. Each time a feeling arises, you are introduced to a new facet of yourself. This is not weakness, it's a call to strength. How you handle suffering defines who you will become. And if you don't allow yourself to feel, you will never know how far you can go. What do you fear? What do you need to release? Now imagine this. Your weaknesses are your best advisors. They don't need to be exposed to the world, but internalized, transformed. The secret lies in recognizing that every tear shed, every moment of insecurity, is paving a path toward resilience. Gather those experiences. Use them as fuel. When you look back on those difficult experiences, find a purpose. Each difficulty is a layer that, if well utilized, builds an unassailable fortress. This cycle of introspection is not just reflection, it's strategy. You don't need to prove yourself to the world. Prove yourself to you. True strength does not come from boasting about your weaknesses, but from having the audacity to accept them. Vulnerability, when mastered, becomes a powerful ally. Ask yourself, do you really want to hide who you are? Or do you prefer to embrace your complexities and move forward wisely? The cycle closes now. You're ready to look your vulnerability in the eye and use it as a springboard. Don't stand still. The game isn't about hiding your weaknesses. It was and always will be about transforming them. If you can achieve this, you will have won the most important battle, the one that takes place within you. So the question remains, what will you do with this clarity? What is left now is action. And remember, if the game is about control, silence is your checkmate.